Why did you do such a thing? Such kindnesses will mean nothing. His path is set.
Kreia, that sweet old lady. She actually may be the most dangerous character in Star Wars. Not because she commands armies, not because she is the most powerful Force user ever, but because she dares to ask a question no one else does. What if the Force is the problem? Hi everyone, I just finished a Let's Roleplay KOTOR 2 video series, and with the game still fresh in my mind, I decided to create this essay taking a deeper look at Kreia. Who she really is, what she wanted, and whether in the end she achieved the one thing no one else even ever attempted. Because beneath the cryptic dialogue and manipulation, there's a plan far more ambitious than simple revenge. Kreia is such a fascinating character, because the game never gives us a complete picture. Her story, and most important objectives, are not explicitly stated, but hinted here and there throughout the game. We get fragments, scattered dialogue, half-truths, and contradictions, and from those fragments we have to assemble who she really is. So, let's start from the beginning. We first meet Kreia on Pyragos. She saves the exile by commanding her to awake, forms an immediate bond with her, and almost instantly assumes the role of mentor. That bond, appearing out of nowhere, is our first clue that something deeper is taking place. As the story unfolds, we learn that Kreia was a Sith Lord before, part of a triumvirate. She says it herself. In true Sith fashion though, the other two betray her, strip her of her power, and cast her out. But that is hardly the beginning of her story, because before the events of the game took place, she was a Jedi.
Does it matter? Of course it does. Such titles allow you to break the galaxy into light and dark, categorize it. Perhaps I am neither, and I hold both as what they are, pieces of a whole. Know that I am your teacher, and that is enough.
Kreia claims she was once an historian of the Jedi archives, but we also know that she was one of the many masters that reigned Revan, one of the most important figures of that era. And this is pretty much what we really know from the game. But here is where things get interesting, because there is a compelling theory that Kreia may actually be Aaron Kai, a Jedi Master who presumably followed Revan into the Mandalorian Wars and met her end there. Kai was also an historian and one of Revan's masters. The evidence is never explicitly confirmed, but the parallels are striking. Aaron Kai is mentioned in the game as being the mother of Brianna, the Handmaiden. Kreia takes an unusual interest in Brianna's training and speaks about her mother with intimate knowledge, almost like she's talking about herself. And the piece of resistance. When confronting the Jedi Masters, this is what happens.
You will not harm him. You will not harm him ever again.
I thought you had died in the Mandalorian Wars.
Die? No. Became stronger. Yes.
Meaning they know her from the past and thought she was no more, like Kai. I won't dig too much into this theory, but there are a few videos exploring this topic in detail, and I'll leave my favorite in the description. If this theory is true, and I do believe it is, then Kreia was a Jedi Master who followed Revan to war, witnessed the horrors of MalachorV, and became Darth Kreia, Lord of Betrayal, as part of the Sith Triumvirate. After the Mandalorian Wars, where Kai is presumed dead, the Sith Triumvirate rises and hunt all the Jedi to almost extinction. Kreia, in her Darth Kreia persona, trains two apprentices, Darth Nihilus and Darth Sion, to use their astonishing powers, born from the last battle in MalachorV. Nihilus is actually so powerful that his presence is a wound in the Force itself, a void that needs to be filled, consuming all Force and all life, but failing to do so will make him start to consume himself. And here, Kreia witnessed for the first time a way to destroy the Force. And it's in this precarious balance that the two apprentices betray their master. Jedi, Sith, betrayed. Somewhere along this path, Kreia started to blame and hate something far greater than either order. She began to hate the Force. But what does that even mean? In Kreia's view, both Jedi and Sith are nothing but mere puppets, manipulated by something greater than themselves, the Force. And this is the major problem, in her opinion. The Force doesn't just exist. It seems to want things. It seeks balance. But what does balance even mean? Because in a universe where the Force exists in these terms, free will may not exist at all. Have all Sith Lords really chosen to fall? Or were they necessary sacrifices in the Force's endless pursuit of equilibrium? If balance demands the rise and fall of empires, if it demands wars, genocides, and the destruction of entire orders, are those even accidents or simply corrections? This is an amazing topic, and it's a pity Star Wars media seems to fear to delve into the consequences of their own lore. But back to Kreia. This idea that every choice anyone has ever made was never a real choice to begin with, this is what she cannot accept. But if the Force truly controls all life, then how could anyone ever escape it? That's where the exile comes in. Because the exile is something the galaxy has never seen before. A being who walked away from the Force and survived. In the last battle of MalachorV, the exile activated the mass shadow generator, a weapon that would disrupt the planet's gravity, completely wiping every living thing on its surface. The Jedi exile herself has an extraordinary ability to create powerful bonds with people around her.
That sounds like the bond that often forms between master and apprentice. But to that degree, you always did form connections to others, strong ones, even when you were a student. But what you are describing is beyond me.
Through the Force, she felt their fears, their pain, and, ultimately, their death. When the weapon fired, the exile didn't just witness the destruction it caused. She felt it. Being connected to the Force through all of that suffering is not possible. It would have killed her. Instead, in order to preserve her own life, she did something unprecedented. She severed her connection to the Force, so abruptly that she became what Kreia calls a wound in the Force. A place where the Force doesn't exist.
The Mandalorian Wars were a series of massacres that masked another war, a war of conversion, culminating in a final atrocity that no Jedi could walk away from, save one. And that is what I sought to understand. How one could turn away from such power, give up the Force, and still live.
Now compare that to Darth Nihilus. He experienced the same event, but instead of cutting himself from the Force, he drowned in it. He fed on the Force to survive, becoming dependent on it. The exile did the opposite. She proved that life can exist without the influence of the Force, and to Kreia, that changes everything. So, what were Kreia's plans after all? On the surface, her goals seem straightforward. She wants to destroy the remains of the current Jedi Order, since in her eyes, they are blind servants of the Force. And she wants revenge against the ones who harmed her former apprentices, Darth Sion and Darth Nihilus. But those are only stepping stones. Her true goal is far more ambitious and far greater. She wants to destroy the Force itself, or at the very least, sever its influence over the galaxy. And to achieve all of this, she intends to use the exile's immense power. From the very beginning, Kreia manipulates the exile, guides her decisions, pushes her into confrontations that will eventually lead her to face both the Jedi Masters and the Sith Lords. And this is what's brilliant about it. In a game, players follow quests, because it's how a game works. But this game has an in-world explanation for it. We as players are not just progressing the plot, we are being manipulated, like the exile is. The only other game I remember from the top of my head that does something like this is BioShock with its "would you kindly" thing. If you know, you know. But back to Kreia. So, Her first two goals were easier to achieve. As the last one, how did she intend to end the Force's influence? According to Atreus, she wants to either end herself or the exile in Malachor, the place where the first wound was created. By doing that, she would create a massive wound in the Force that would echo across the whole galaxy.
Now she seeks to create another echo, a wound in the Force, greater than the one before, greater than the one you caused. It will deafen all touched by the Force until no life is left. You were strong enough to withstand it once, but few have your strength in such matters, especially if they are unprepared. If you choose not to follow, she will murder herself at the heart of Malachor, and you will die along with her.
Every living being would feel it, and just like the exile, they would have to face the choice: sever their connection to the Force or perish. And remember that at some level, everyone is connected to the Force. In theory, those who survived would become deaf to the Force, like the exile, a galaxy freed from the Force's influence. But there is a problem. That explanation comes from Atreus. And Atreus is not exactly an unbiased source. She hates Kreia, she fears her, and she misunderstands her. So we have to ask ourselves, was this really her plan? Or was it just what Atreus believed? Remember, Kreia is always lying and manipulating events. It is entirely possible this was just what she led Atreus to believe. But if you look at the final confrontation with the exile, it seems more personal, and not to mention that she could have simply ended her life if that was her plan. So no, I don't think that was her true intent. And to prove that, in the final confrontation with the Jedi Masters in the Jedi Enclave, Kreia channels the wound in the Force through her bond with the exile, and makes the Masters feel the same the exile did at MalachorV. The result is fatal for them. This is a crucial moment, because if trained Jedi Masters cannot survive the weight of the wound, what chance would ordinary people have? If Kreia would have created that massive wound, would the result really be freedom or extinction instead? What if Kreia realized that? Even if that was her plan, would she still have gone through with it? Or maybe her real plan was not to destroy the Force, but to prove that someone could choose not to listen to it. So, after the confrontation with the Masters, something shifts. Kreia has demonstrated what the wound can do, and the Masters cannot survive it. In this moment, I believe she understood the truth. The exile did not consciously choose to sever herself from the Force. Instead, she did it out of survival instinct.
But I see what happened now. It is because you were afraid.
A galaxy-sized wound in the Force would not present a choice. It would not create freedom. It would create silence, extinction. Instead of creating that final catastrophe, she allows the exile to sever their bond. She chooses not to create the massive wound. And that choice matters, because if Kreia truly believed that free will was impossible, then in this moment she just proved herself wrong. She gave the exile something she believes she never had: a choice. The exile walks away as a wound in the Force, proof that life can exist outside its influence, not as the destroyer of the Force, but as evidence that it can be defied. Maybe Kreia didn't want to kill the Force in the end. Maybe she just wanted to prove that someone could stand against it and choose differently. In her final act, she may have proven that destiny is not absolute, and in the universe built on prophecy and balance, that might be the greatest rebellion of all. If you've made it this far, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'd love to hear your interpretation of Kreia's plan. Do you think she truly intended to destroy the Force? Or was the exile always the real endgame? This is my first video ever in this style, and I have a few more ideas for other videos like this, so if you enjoy it, let me know. And if you're here for the roleplay content, don't worry, that's not going anywhere. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.